You know, sometimes you can be on a Major League Baseball team and you can have a truly great player. He leads you, he takes you through a season, takes you to a playoff, and you just ride his coattails the whole way, and you win, that way. And you've seen it happen with MVP candidates year after year. Well, how about this scenario where you have your MVP and he's led you all year and he gets hurt 6 weeks before the season ends? All of a sudden, you go on a tear and you wake up on today, Thursday, September 12, 2019, tied for the National League's second wild card. Wow. Welcome, everybody, to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports on this Thursday. And who am I talking about? Of course, I'm talking about the Christian Yelich-less Milwaukee Brewers. And as we look at the National League wild card on this Thursday morning, we notice that the Nationals, well, they still have the top spot. The Nats have lost 6 of their last 10, though, and they lost last night in Minnesota. And we talked about that some yesterday, how it could be that Washington falls back some here with the tough schedule they have to close out the season. But as I look at the second wild card, and we talk about that this morning, we notice that Chicago Cubs, who lost again last night, and we'll talk about the Cubs and what Rizzo's comments were after the game, they're now tied for the second wild card with no less than the Milwaukee Brewers, winners of 6 in a row. And, Yelich went out a couple days ago for the season with a broken kneecap, which, by the way, does not require surgery, and they're expecting him to heal in about 6 to 7 weeks, which is great news. But now they're 77-68. The Cubs are 77-68. Oh my gosh. The National League wild card has added or the wild card in general, such interest, such intrigue. And here we go with the Cubs and the Brewers now fighting it out for that second wild card with the Mets, Phillies, and Arizona Diamondbacks within 2.5 games of the second wild card. So what happened to make that happen? Well, for the Brewers, did you hear any Moose calls last night? Moustakas back, hasn't started a game and batted a full game in over a week. And what does he do last night against the Marlins? He goes 3 for 5, 2 runs scored, 5 RBIs. He hit 2 home runs. He now has 33 of those on the year to go with 81 RBIs. And I wonder if Moustakas, he's World Series champion with Kansas City, so does he take this Brewers club on his back and say, just ride me, boys. We're going to do good. Because that's what happened last night. The pitching, well, not so great. Kyle Davies, went into the 5th, pitched 4 1/3, gave up 3 earned, walked 2, struck out 3. But when you get to the back of that bullpen, look what Suter did last night. He pitched the 6th, 7th, and 8th. He gave up only 1 hit, no walks, struck out 2. He has an 0.96 ERA on the year. And then Mr. Hader comes in the 9th, strikes out the side. Hader with his 30th save. The Brewers, they beat the Marlins last night in Miami by a score of 7-5. The Brewers scored 2 in the top of the 9th on Moustakas' second homer of the night. What a way to win a game on the road and pull even. Yes, even in the National League wildcard race. So they pulled even mainly because they won, but also because the Cubs lost in San Diego. Shut out by Chris Paddack, 4-0. Well, Paddack didn't pitch a complete game, but he pitched decent enough through 6. Only gave up 3 hits, no runs, 7 strikeouts. And then the bullpen was perfect after that. Bednar and Weingender, 3 innings, 5 strikeouts, no hits, no walks. The Padre bats just enough. Bandy Margot at the top of the order went 3 for 4. Will Myers continues his hot streak. Yeah. Lenny's boy, Will Myers, has done nothing all year until the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he's as hot as a firecracker on the 4th of July. He got another hit, 2 RBIs last night. Padres, they're trying to make misery of the Cubs. The Cubs only got 3 hits. Nick Castellanos, who's been killing it since coming over from Chicago, not from Chicago, to Chicago, from Detroit. Rizzo got a hit. Bryant got a hit. That's it. Rizzo tripled. No other extra base hits. Cole Hamels, the loser, 7-7, 4 1/3, 1 earned run, but he walked 4 batters. The bullpen, not that good. And now the Cubs look up today. They're tied. I was talking earlier that the last 3 games of the year would be really important. St. Louis and Chicago. True. But they may not matter in the division. They may so matter in the wild card. As the Cubs are fighting. And look at this. Rizzo after the game. And I'm quoting, "Today we lost. I don't care how we win or lose. I don't care if we make 15 errors as long as we win. These next 2+ weeks, I don't care how it's done, whether it's pretty or ugly. We just have to win." That's Rizzo. He's so right. Look, they have 17 games left. Let's just take a look at what struggles they have internally. Well, first of all, their closer, Craig Kimbrell, he's out, right elbow inflammation, no target date for his return. Their shortstop and best player, Javier Baez, is out for at least the regular season with a left thumb fracture. And they've been shut out 3 times in the past 11 games since Baez has been out. Joe Madden was saying, quote, "We can change momentum, but we have to be more consistent offensively. We win as a group, we lose as a group. But I do believe to get where we want to go, we have to be a consistent offensive team the rest of the season." As recently as last Friday, the Cubs had a 3.5 game lead over their closest wildcard pursuer. They've now lost 5 of 6, while the Brewers have won 6 in a row. And listen, the Cubs' last 2 losses, somewhat disheartening. When you say they fell 9-8 in 10 innings on Tuesday on a walk-off walk, Steve Chychyk walking in the winning run on Wednesday, the game started to slip away when reliever Brad White threw wildly a home on a double steal attempt. Chris Paddock pitched great. But the Cubs are on some rough times, and the question is, can they pull it together in time to withstand whatever Milwaukee has up their sleeve, and possibly Arizona and the Mets? The Mets last night played Arizona in Flushing, New York, and it was a whitewash. Steven Matz, 9-0 over the Arizona Diamondbacks. They hit a lot of home runs. Great pitching. Matz goes 6 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts. Familia, Sewald, and Bashir all shut down, 3 innings in relief. Batting-wise, well, you got Ahmad Rosario, who doubled, Lagares, who doubled, McNeil, it is 35th double. More importantly, at 2 home runs. He now has 20 on the year. Todd Frazier at 2 home runs. He has 20 on the year. Nemo hit his 5th. Brandon Nemo went 2 for 3 last night. Keep your eye on Nemo coming down the stretch for the Mets. Only 2 out of the wild card with the loss. The Diamondbacks fall to 2.5 games out of the wild card. And the other player in the wild card, the Phillies, 2 games out of the second wild card, they lose at home to the Braves last night. The final score was 3-1. And has anyone noticed Dallas Keuchel quickly becoming the possible or probable Game 1 playoff starter for the Braves? I think he may have surpassed all his other teammates, including Mike Soroka. 6 innings last night for Keuchel as he improves to 8-5, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. The Braves bullpen, well, Chris Martin, he used to be a singer, didn't he?
Well, he was a pitcher last night, and he pitched the seventh. And in the seventh inning, he threw 9 pitches, an immaculate inning, struck out the side. Green, a bust as the closer, since the trade over from the Tigers, pitched a solid 8th. And Melanson came on, shaky again, but got his 11th save, pitching an inning, gave up 2 hits but no runs. Braves win, beat the Phillies. Eflin was pitching for the Phillies. Errors did him in. An error by Juan Segura led to 3 unearned runs. Those were the 3 runs the Braves scored at the top of the 4th inning. So they scored no earned runs last night because of the error. Bullpen pitched pretty well, but the Phillies didn't hit. Harper went 1 for 2. Hoskins 1 for 4. Hazley off the bench, pinch hitter for Dickerson, who got hurt. 1 for 1. Hernandez 1 for 3. No extra base hits, all singles. Phillies lose. And now you've got the wild card situation that I set out for you just a few moments ago in the National League. So let's look at the American League wild card. Tampa Bay, losers last night. They have a half-game lead over Oakland, who won last night. And Oakland has a half-game lead over Cleveland, who won last night. So let's take a look at those 3 games. Tampa losing to the Rangers by a score of 10-9 in Arlington. What a great game to watch. I love 10-9 kind of games. Now, it wasn't for lack of hitting. Joey Wendell at the top of the order, who's been hot, 2 for 5. Ji-Man Choi went 2 for 2, 4 RBIs, 2 home runs, 1 in the 2nd inning off Mendez, 1 in the 9th inning off Leclerc. It was the pitching that let Tampa down. Kittredge was the opener, did not record an out. He gave up 3 hits and 3 runs. First inning wasn't over. Beeks came in. He gave up 4 more runs, getting only 2 outs. So before you knew it, last night, Texas had 7 runs in the first inning. Now, the good news for Tampa was they scored 2 in the first and 5 in the second. So we went to the 3rd inning, tied at 7. Wow. If you had any of those guys in your fantasy lineup, I did. I had Joey Wendell. Good guy to have last night with his 2 hits. It would have been a great night to have Ji-Man Choi. You just load up on bats when teams are in Arlington, Texas, this time of year. For fantasy, you also remember the Rangers play home games there. And how about this kid, Nick Solak? Former Yankee great, farmhand, Nick Solak, traded by the Yankees to Tampa, traded by Tampa to Texas. 2 for 3 last night. He plays all over the field, second base, third base. After his 2 for 3 night, he's hitting .347. And I know it's a small sample size, but is Solak someone that you add in fantasy, playing for the Rangers, home games in Arlington, as we wind down the fantasy season? Rufton Odor hit a 3-run homer. I think he's garbage this year. I don't go with Odor, even though he homered last night. He has 25 on the year, but he's hitting only .203. But I'm interested in this Solak kid. Elvis Andrus also had 2 hits last night, not 2 home runs. Rangers beat the Rays. So the Rays cling to that first wild card by a slim, scant half game over Oakland, holding the second wild card. You know, the A's were thoroughly embarrassed by the Astros game 1 of this series on Monday. 15-0. They came back yesterday, came back Tuesday, trounced the Astros, and then Wednesday night beat the Astros again in Houston 5-3. Anderson got the win, but the story of the night is my man, my heralded pitcher, who I've been talking about for a long time, Jesus Luzardo, making his major league debut last night for the Oakland Athletics. He gets a hold. I've got him, of course, and I'm in a holds league. His first major league batter, he strikes him out. 3 innings, only 1 earned run, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Hendricks picks up his 20th save. And if you're in a saves holds league, has not Hendricks been a great waiver wire add this season? 20 saves. He pitched a perfect ninth, 2 strikeouts. His season ERA down to 1.63. Matt Olson last night, another 2 RBI night with a double. But how about this kid, Murphy, the catcher? 1 for 4 last night, including his 4th home run. Just called up a little over a week ago. He's hitting .353 with 4 home runs already, 7 RBIs, and he's playing at least half the time from the catcher position. His last 2 games against Houston, he's gone 4 for 9 with 3 home runs and 5 RBIs. I like this kid. He was tearing it up in the minor leagues, and he's tearing it up now. So Oakland adding Murphy, adding Luzardo, Manea back just a couple weeks ago. They have certainly strengthened their team from within, and I look for Oakland to still maintain one of those wild card spots going forward. For the Astros last night, the Jordan Alvarez watch continues for me. 2 more hits, 2 for 4, hitting .316 on the year. What a bat. What a bat. And then the final wild card implicated game last night involved the Cleveland Indians. They beat the Angels in Anaheim late, 4-3. Lindor, a 2-run homer for the Tribe, drove in 2. Puig got 2 hits. Luplow got 2 hits. Plawecki got 2 hits. Plutko, the starter, 4 1/3, 2 earned runs. But the bullpen went the rest of the way, 4 2/3, only giving up 1 run. And if you're in a holds league and you have Cleveland Indians, listen to this. Clippard is 8th hold. Goody is 10th hold. Whit Green hits 12th hold. Perez is 21st hold. And Simber got the save, his first of the year, striking out the last batter of the game. Cleveland continues to win. Now, Mike Trout continues not to play. Surgery on that toe. I'm a Trout investor all the way. He hasn't played all week. Come on. They're off today. So what I'm reading this morning, getting ready for the show, is they expect Trout back this weekend. It can't come soon enough. Get back in there, Mike Trout. Let's talk about some fantasy players. I want to talk about my fantasy team I've got in a league in a playoff. Give you some update on how I did. I was way ahead in the regular season. The last 2 weeks is kind of a weird playoff scenario, but I was locked in to a playoff spot, either first or second place. And so I didn't cut my players. I didn't add players. I wound up finishing in second place. If I had tried, probably I would have finished first. But hey, I'm not whining about that. But now I'm in a do-or-die playoff race, and I came into 2 days ago, I was down 5 games. Today, I'm up 6. I'm up 15-9. It's a 30-category league. Yeah. But here's how some of my players did last night. So my catcher position, Real Muto, who's been red hot, but he went 0 for 3 last night. Freddie Freeman, first baseman, 1 for 3. Merrifield, second baseman, 1 for 5. Devers, third baseman, 1 for 4. Alberto Mondesi, my shortstop, 3 for 5, 2 singles, a homer, a stolen base. Mike Moustakas, my middle infielder, 3 for 4. Joey Wendell, my corner infielder, 2 for 5. My outfield consists of Michael Brantley, 1 for 4. Alvarez, 2 for 4. Calhoun, 1 for 4. Aquino, who has really cooled off, and he may be on the bench for me today, 0 for 4. Sin-Soo Choo, 1 for 5. Rosario, 0 for 4. And Jorge Soler, who I picked up off waivers this year, a huge game last night, 4 for 5. He scored 2 runs. He had a single. He had a double. He had 2 home runs. 11 total bases, 4 RBIs. What a game, what a season for Soler. He's now hitting .255 on the year, 43 homers, 106 RBIs. I picked him up off waivers in this league. He'd been cut early in the year. But Phil Chaplin and I have been talking him up on our pre-draft shows. And so, of course, to be consistent with my conviction, I pick him up. And what a player he has been in fantasy. Wow. So, let's take a look at some of the things going on today. I've been talking about the Cubs. Let's stay on that wagon. Yu Darvish starts the series finale today against the Padres. They play at 3:40 Eastern this afternoon at Petco Park. Darvish skipped his last start because of right forearm tightness, but returned Saturday with a 72-pitch effort at Milwaukee, going 5 scoreless innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. He has held opponents to a .203 batting average on the road and a .199 mark since the All-Star break, home or away. It's a big game for the Cubs. They're throwing probably, I guess you could argue Hendricks is their best pitcher, but of late Darvish has been really good, and he's going to get called on today to try to stem the tide. I guess you heard that the Orioles were involved in setting a really good record last night. They've been involved in doing so many bad things. But Jonathan Villar took Caleb Ferguson deep around 9:15 last night at Oriole Park. And with that 3-run blast, which gave the Orioles a 5-2 lead against the Dodgers, by the way, in the 7th inning, it was the 6,106th home run hit in Major League Baseball this year. That surpassed the previous record of 6,105 set in 2017 with juice baseballs. That's the only 2 seasons in history with at least 6,000 home runs hit. And, of course, there's 2 more weeks of the season. So, what would be a really good guess? What will be the final number on the total number of home runs hit this year? In a 2-week period, how many more do you think will be hit? That would be a great guess. You guess things like how many marbles are in the big jar. Well, how many home runs are going to get hit in 2018? Villar set the record last night. Now, 16 minutes earlier, Marcus Semien had hit his 28th homer to tie the record. And now here it was set on the home run by Jonathan Villar. At least something good happened in Baltimore last night. I was talking about the A's being one of my favorites for the wild card spot, but I want to talk about the Rays also for just a moment. I told you that the Rays have a half-game lead in the wild card over Oakland for that first wild card spot. That's for home field in the wild card, which I think is important because especially if it happens to be the Rays and A's, that's a cross-country flight for one game. And don't you know the Rays would rather stay home in Tropicana Field? At any rate, what I want to talk about is this. It's how the Rays have gotten there. They have a decent offense, not a great one. They're 9th in park-adjusted offense in the major leagues. They have a good defense, not a great one. They're 11th in defensive metrics. The answer is on the pitching mound. And Blake Snell is pitching tonight in Durham, for Durham, in the International League Governors Cup Series Championship, which is purportedly his final tune-up before we can call back to Tampa to start for the Rays. The pitching staff is where the Rays do their damage. They have the lowest ERA in the American League as a team, 3.62, and the most wins above replacement in the majors, 23.1. They're first in limiting home runs per 9 innings, only 1.11 home runs per 9 innings. Second in strikeout rate, 26.5%. Second in hard hit rate, 33.4%. Fourth in walk rate, 7.5%. And seventh in ground ball rate, 44.2%. And it's not necessarily how they're doing it, it's Who's doing it? And some of these guys you may not have expected it from. Now, they do have Charlie Morton, who is probably in the Cy Young conversation. 30 outstanding starts, a 3.11 ERA. We know Snell has only thrown 101 okay innings. We know Tyler Glasnow missed months with a forearm problem. We know Jose Alvarado, he's missed time for personal issues, an oblique strain, and finally an elbow injury. Diego Castillo missed time with a shoulder injury. Yanni Chirinos, who's thrown the second most innings for the Rays this year, has missed a month with a finger injury. So they've had every excuse in the world not to pitch well. But here's what's happened. Emilio Pagan, acquired in a December trade with Oakland, he may be the best reliever in baseball. No one actually believes that, okay? But his numbers are really good. When we look at amount of contact, strikeouts and walks, as well as quality of contact, exit velocity and launch angle, and we look at the 145 relievers who have faced at least 200 batters. Here are your top 5. Pagan, Liam Hendricks, number 2, Yates, number 3, Hader, number 4, Seth Lugo, number 5. Pagan has a 2.15 ERA, 87 strikeouts in 62 and 2/3 innings, and just 13 walks. How about Nick Anderson? Nick Anderson acquired at the trade deadline from Miami. He has struck out 30 of the 50 batters he's faced. He's walked none. Did you hear me? None. Incredible. He's allowed 1 run over the full season. Only Hader and Yates have higher strikeout rates than his 42%. And remember, that was 37% with Miami, and it's 60% with Tampa. This is a kid who couldn't make the Twins' 40-man roster just last fall. Anderson has elite rise on his fastball, a fastball-curveball combination, and then there's Colin Poche, acquired in February from the D-backs in the Steven Souza trade. Rising fastballs are his key. He racked up 275 strikeouts in just 174 innings last year. In the minors, in the majors this year, he struck out 64 in 44 1/3. Chaz Rowe. The list goes on. His slider has been dynamite. His slider is 15.2 inches above average. These are just some of the reasons why Tampa Bay is going to be such a force, and I think why I believe Tampa and Oakland are going to be your wild card winners in the American League. Now, we got to play games. Cleveland's certainly a force, but there can only be 2 out of 3. And just some nuggets for you on some players. If you have a holds league, you may want to look at some of those Tampa pitchers. We've talked about that Nationals and Twins series going on this weekend. And the Nationals last night got the best of that one, 6-2 over the Twins. Pitching-wise, Perez pitched for Minnesota, gave up 5 runs. Strasburg, who I think has just had an incredible year and gets not enough credit, I think he is certainly in the Cy Young discussion. In fact, tell me who is more worthy. He's 17-6. He pitched 6 innings, 2 earned, 7 strikeouts last night. He has a 3.49 ERA. And did you look at how the bullpen was handled last night? Doolittle came in the 7th and got his first hold of the year. Hudson pitched the 9th instead of Doolittle having that job. The Twins, the bats after the first 2 hitters basically did nothing. Arias went 3 for 5, and Polanco went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. And then you go Cruz 0 for, Rosario 0 for, Astudillo 0 for, Adriana 0 for, Wade 0 for. You get the idea. Shutdown time. Nationals rose to the occasion. They know it's a tough stretch, and they played like champs last night in Minnesota. Did you see the Cincinnati game? So your Sonny Gray, you're rocking and a rolling. You got a no-hitter. A no-hitter. Going into the 7th inning, up steps a rookie, Lewis, playing right field, and he homers. A 3-run shot, propelling the Seattle Mariners from a 2-0 deficit to a 3-2 lead. They go on to beat the Reds 5-3. Sonny Gray, 6 1/3, 2 hits, the 3 earned on the homer, 9 strikeouts. Kevin Gausman comes on in relief and just throws gas on the fire. An inning and 2/3 and 2 runs. I've never been a Gausman fan, and let me make a statement. I will never be a Gausman fan. I never thought he was good. He played in Baltimore. He stunk it up. I didn't understand why Atlanta got him, and I'm not sure why Cincinnati wants him either. He can't pitch. He can't get people out when it matters. Yeah, he might have a good game every now and then, but every pitcher can do that. Come on, get rid of him. Let's move on to some greener grass, Cincinnati. Man up, right? I'm going to look at the games for today, and the Tigers and Yankees were rained out last night, so they have a doubleheader. The afternoon slate kicks off at 1:10 p.m. J. Happ and Matt Boyd from Comerica Park in Detroit. Game 2 in the night bill, CC Sabathia for New York and Spencer Turnbull for Detroit. Other afternoon games, Brewers from Marlins Park in Miami. Marlins Park, not Brewers Park. Marlins Park in Miami. Gonzalez for Milwaukee. Caleb Smith for the homestanding Marlins Park, pitching in that park, Miami Marlins. At 1:10, the Diamondbacks and Mets from Citi Field in Flushing. Young for Arizona, Stroman for the Mets, who just has not been all that was advertised. The Royals and White Sox, Lopez pitching for the visiting Royals, Giolito pitching for the White Sox. Cardinals, Rockies, Miles Michaelis at Coors Field against Melville. That's at 3:10. Cubs, Padres, as I said earlier, Darvish and Lamet pitching at 3:40. Pirates and Giants from Oracle Park in San Francisco. Musgrove and Samardzija, that's at 3:45. And then we get to the night slate. Dodgers and Orioles from Camden Yards. Rich Hill coming back off the IL. Interesting to see, number one, how many innings he throws and how effective he is against Dylan Bundy and the Orioles. That game first pitches at 7:15. Other games starting around that same time. The Red Sox are at the Blue Jays. Rogers Center in Toronto, Ontario. Chachin pitching for Boston. Buchholz, the former Red Sox, pitching against his old team, pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. Atlanta and Philly going at it from Citizens Bank in Philadelphia. Teheran for Atlanta. Drew Smiley for Phillies. Nationals and Twins. Target Field, Minnesota. Corbin and Gibson. The Rays are at the Rangers from Globe Life Park in Arlington. McKay, the rookie backup from Durham, against rookie pitcher Allard, traded over from the Braves to Texas at the trade deadline for Martin, who pitched the immaculate inning last night. Oakland at Houston, Homer Bailey, Justin Verlander. That could be a dandy. That's at 8:10. And finally, the Reds and Mariners at 10:10 p.m. from T-Mobile Park in Seattle. Mailey for Cincinnati. Dunn, the rookie pitcher for Seattle, making his major league debut tonight against the Reds at home.
And so, it's been a big schedule today. Check out that rookie in Seattle tonight. He comes in pretty highly touted, so we'll see how he does. I want to thank Andrea, Corona Cyclonus, Lenny, Phil Chaplin, and Tony Sincata for being in the chat room this morning. It's good to see all of you guys. I've enjoyed the show. Next Tuesday night, during our 6 o'clock show, I'm going to really try to have a call-in show for baseball and football. I think that would be really cool to have people just call in and catch me on the fly. And so spread the word. If you are going to be part of our show next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, I'd love to have call-ins. I'll close the show this way today. I was looking at my Yahoo Fantasy Football League, my 14-team Fantasy Football League, and where there's no meat on the bone. What do you think about Vernon Davis this week? The Redskin tight end, what is he, about 47 years old? He's going to probably be the starting tight end. Dallas does not defend tight ends well. And so for you fantasy footballers, and Phil Chaplin, you're one of those, I'll just close with that. What do you think about Vernon Davis this week in fantasy football? Washington at home, Sunday at 1 o'clock against the Cowboys. Think about it. Chaplin says 9 p.m. football next Wednesday on Tuesday. Oh, yeah. Why not? Let's do it. It's going to be a great show. It always is when it's Chaplin and I. I love working with that guy. I hope you're back with us next Tuesday night, Chappie. Missed you this week, but I get it. I know we got things to do, and boy, I've had a lot going on here. So most football leagues allow daily moves. The league I'm in, Andrea, here's what they do. It's a weekly, scoring league, but I'm in a ESPN league. First of all, where everybody goes on waivers until Wednesday. After the game's on Monday night. So you can't just go and pluck somebody off. The Yahoo League I'm in, you get 4 moves per week, and you can pick up anybody you want to at any time you want to, but once you get 4 moves, it resets Tuesday morning of every week. So it all depends on the league and the league structure. So you can add, but after that you can add players daily. The 2 leagues I'm in, both ESPN and in Yahoo, any day you want to after Wednesday of that week. But when games start in my ESPN league, that's when rosters lock. And you can't use waivers until Tuesday, like you're saying on that. So it depends. But the Yahoo league I'm in is not that way. I don't know why it's that way, but that's the way it is. So I have, it's sort of like mass confusion for me. My left brain says one way and my right brain says another. And I just have to roll with it, whatever that is, right? Anyway, enough said. Great to see you guys. I hope everyone has a great Thursday. A lot of afternoon baseball this afternoon. Remember, the Yankees started off with a doubleheader with the Tigers. I think there are 4 afternoon games, all starting at 1 o'clock. I do want to go through our schedule on the network. So, tonight at 7 o'clock, we've got Chappie's Football Chat. Chappie, if you'd like a live call, let me know. I may call you. You never know. And then at 11 tonight, Fantasy Fisticuffs Football. So this evening is football. This morning it was baseball. On Lenny Milnick Fantasy Sports, we try to give you some of everything. That's just the way it rolls here. Lenny, thank you. Andrea, thank you. Again, everyone in the chat room, it's been a pleasure. Go have a great Thursday. From Arnie on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports.